What happens when children are taught to hate and see others as less than? And not just that, they have the internet and they have these online groups that are encouraging them to be hateful and commit these heinous acts. I want to talk about two cases that were involving children who clearly not only had terrible dinner conversations about race with their parents, likely racist conversations, and then also they had access to the internet and Lord knows what they were exposed to. There was just a case in 2026 where two middle schoolers in Florida were planning an armed robbery, and that was not the most disturbing part. The most disturbing part were the things that investigators found at their homes. They found homemade guns, they found explosives, they had neo-Nazi images, they had white supremacist things, they had things like the great replacement theory. These are 13 and 14-year-olds. There was a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old involved, and they are already honestly set up to fail in life and to be hateful. And people like that, they're really hard to break that hate, especially if it's generational, because it's hard to believe that these kids just hopped on the internet one day and they decided to be hateful. I'm sure there were conversations that were had at the dinner table where their parents might have said, they may not have been as aggressive as the things that they may have been reading online, but they probably were subtle, and that's how it starts out. People are damaging their kids. Or, don't get me wrong, the parents could have been completely aggressive. I'm not saying they were, they weren't. I'm just saying that most of the time these things start out at the dinner table. And again, it may not be as aggressive as the things that they find online, but it definitely influences them and it points them into that direction. Then the parents act shocked and they're like, I never knew. No, my Billy, he would never do something like that. But it's like, no, you definitely did not teach him to be a good person, because no 13 and 14-year-old, again, is just solely influenced by the internet and decides to go do that, okay? And then there was another case in 2023 out of Massachusetts where a 14-year-old white boy attempted to drown a black boy. And before someone goes, how do you know it was about race? He was saying racial slurs as he was attempting to harm the other child. And for people to act like these conversations are not being had at home, these kids are definitely being influenced at home. There is no way these kids are just walking out in the world and becoming this hateful themselves. Again, this is generational. These are people that are probably passing these down, telling them, stay away from those people are bad and all those things. People like to blame the internet and the media for why their children turn out the way they do. But again, the dinner table kind of sets the direction as to where your child will go and how you influence them and how you speak to them. So the internet and media cannot be to blame for everything inside of your household. That should be monitoring what your kid's doing online. Those boys that made the homemade guns, the explosives, and had all that neo-Nazi imagery and white supremacist nonsense, you cannot tell me that their parents were completely unaware of what they were doing. There's no way. Because no kid, no child is out there thinking about the great replacement theory on their own unless they've heard bits and pieces about it. Again, dinner table conversations are being had that we don't even know about. And for me, raising a black son, for me, seeing that kids are that alarmingly hateful where they're going out and actually trying to harm other children due to the color of their skin, that is insane to me. That's insane. That goes beyond just bullying. People can die because of hate, literally, and you're seeing it in real time. Children planning armed robberies. That's insane, and that scares me as a parent, again, because I always grew up to love everyone. I'm used to being around everybody. Black, white, doesn't matter. And I was, again, taught to love people. So for me, knowing that other people are having other conversations at their dinner table about what you should and shouldn't do around people is insane to me, because again, I wasn't raised that way. And the next generation is never going to get better when you have people out there that are still putting hate into their kids' heart. And at the same time, it makes me feel like, should I be, teaching my child to be cautious of someone? Because this is getting out of hand. And then people wonder and get upset why black people have conversations with their children about how you should be careful when you're the only one in certain situations. But this is why. These stories are exactly why people are having these conversations. So while some people are having dinner conversations about why you should hate people, other people are having dinner conversations about how, not everybody's going to be as loving as you. Someone out there might hurt you because of the color of your skin, and that is so unfortunate. And we're really seeing a rise, especially because the internet has people going berserk. What do you think?